What's something that's not right about your body, but not serious enough to go to a doctor about? I've had a white section of hair since I was like 13. No clue why. It's just a part of my hair that grows without pigment. The rest is dark brown, almost black. I believe that's anime protagonist disease. I wish Ops parents the best. I experience something that's called exploding head syndrome. Something that is much less severe than the name might imply. Basically, sometimes, right as I'm on the edge of sleep, I'll hear a loud auditory hallucination that jolts me back awake. Pretty rare though, only happens to me maybe once a month. Both my girlfriend and I have this. It happens to us probably 2 to 3 times a year. We dated for 6 years before it came up in conversation. We looked it up and it's actually pretty rare. The weirdest part for me is what the noises sound like. They don't sound like anything from this world. And they're so loud. But loud from the inside, if that makes any sense. Always scares the beep out of me. Really though. Not a problem I would ever see a doctor for. It's one of the most minor inconveniences in my life. The texture of the skin on my right palm changed after I was sick back in March. Sometimes it's bubbly and really itchy. Sometimes it looks just really tight and glossy, and sometimes it's so dry that the skin is cracking up. I can definitely see a difference between the right and the left one. The little Rhodes fingerprints on the palm on my right palm aren't as visible anymore. That sounds very much like dyshydrotic eczema. I had it when I was pregnant. It sucks. Edit: this is not a diagnosis. You need to see a physician for a diagnosis. I had an extra set of wisdom teeth that were hidden in behind that weren't picked up by X-rays. The dentist only found them when doing a routine extraction of my normal wisdom teeth. They were like tiny baby teeth that weren't fully developed. The dentist said that he'd never seen that before. He wasn't a young guy either. I've had 6 or 7 wisdom teeth removed and now another MF is starting to come out. Like, how wise am I supposed to be? I certainly don't live up to that. I used to have a hedgehog named Velcro. I'd let him run around on my bed. One morning I slid out of bed and got a sharp pain in my left ass cheek. I walked to the bathroom and saw that I had a ½ inch of quill lodged firmly in my haunch. I pulled out what I could and thought I got it all. It wept a few times and eventually healed. It'd been 20 years. And I still have a scab on my ass that falls off once a month. And comes back in a few days. I can feel there's something deep under the skin. But because of the bad angle, there's no way I can take care of it without a dermatologist's help. That would drive me insane. I would have no choice but to see a dermatologist. Or an unscrupulous friend with a pocket knife. Honestly, I'd take whatever I could get at that point. When I blow my nose, my left eye bubbles from the corner. Like air coming through. Freaks me out every time because it feels so weird. I got a concussion early January this year and I still don't feel the same 11 months later. No doctors could do anything about it as it's just post-concussion syndrome and it's somewhat common for it to affect people for a year or more after. Undefined. For those asking, I feel better than before. Nothing too scary. It was a mild concussion. I'm mostly dealing with mild insomnia, brain fog, and mood issues and a few other things. On my bad days when symptoms flare up more, I just have to remind myself to take a lot of breaks. It's rough. I'm 11 years out from a horrible TBI ICU for a week. Luckily no surgery. And I honestly don't know when I was 100% again. It took at least 5 years. And it was a lot of learning new ways to do things I did very naturally before. My 100% now is probably at least 25% different from what it was. I hope your injury wasn't as bad as mine. When I was in elementary school, I had a pair of blue shoes that I refused to get rid of. So I wore them even though they were a little small. And now my big toes are curved. I have a singular white eyelash on one of my eyes that grows really quickly and gets so long it'll get in my actual eye. And I need to cut it every couple of months to keep it short. Undefined. I had a hair like that on my upper arm. Would grow like a head hair until I would pinch it off. Was there for like 5 years, then disappeared without a trace. Just as I was getting fond of him. I've got what's called choroidal nevus, which means I have freckle in / on my eyeball. Found out when I finally went to an optometrist after 5 years. For a new prescription. It doesn't and won't affect my eyesight or anything. It's just a little dot you can see when they do a scan. Undefined. I have a hard time discerning dream from reality since real life is so dreamlike and foggy and dreams are so vivid. Have read its dissociation from depression but never really talked to my psych about it. Depersonalization and dissociation are no joke, definitely talk about it. I've struggled for years and am just now learning some coping mechanisms that help. If I eat eggs, I become incredibly sick. To the point where my stomach is in agony. I'm on verge of throwing up and I can't move. I simply just stopped eating eggs and haven't had any issues since. But the weird part is I can eat cake and anything with eggs mixed into it. But not eggs by themselves. Fun fact. Eggs that have been baked thoroughly at a high temperature are less likely to cause a reaction than straight up eggs. My kid's allergic and they've got us doing allergy challenges with baked egg in a cake to try and get him over it quicker. I would like to try cake therapy. Can it help with anything else? I can't yell. My voice just cracks and squeaks after it gets louder than mildly loud talking. I get headaches when it rains. Are they accompanied with other symptoms? I suffer from migraines. The weather is one of my triggers. I have Raynaud's disease. It's a rare disorder of the blood vessels. Commonly in fingers and toes but also can happen on ears, nose or lips. It causes the blood vessels to narrow when you are cold and can happen if you're stressed. When this happens, the blood can't get to the surface of the skin and the affected areas turn white and blue and making them numb. Hurts like heck. No cure. Just have to prevent yourself from getting too cold, like wear gloves or have the hand warmers with you. Undefined. Hello fellow wears gloves in the freezer section of the grocery store person. Exactly LOL. Even holding a cold beverage triggers it. My toenails kept splitting. This was the best thing to ever happen to me. I had at least 8 diagnosed disorders. I took 12 daily medications. Costing 40 everyday Canadian prices. I saw about 30 specialists over the last decade. And they were pretty much stumped. About once a month. A toenail would split. For years I just cut it off and moved on. In September, my girlfriend saw this and said, "Your toenails shouldn't split that much. Or at all." So I looked it up. Expecting it to be a medication side effect. It wasn't. Iron deficiency was a possibility. I ignored it initially because I'm not a woman or vegan. The other things I looked into didn't pan out. So I came back to iron deficiency. Symptoms including split toenails, cold hands and feet, extreme fatigue diagnosed in me as idiopathic hypersomnia, maybe osteoporosis, aggravated bipolar disorder, aggravated epilepsy, aggravated chronic pain, blurred vision, headaches. It's all there. I'm slowly reducing my medications in exchange for 0.05/day of iron. I sleep about 8 hours of sleep every night instead of 12 and don't need beeping speed to wake up in the morning. I've had 2 headaches since mid-October. Normally it would be closer to 30. We have an explanation for osteoporosis, so maybe I don't have to be on cancer-causing meds for life. My back pain is improving. It's a whole new goddamn world. Because my toenail split. Undefined. I found out when they took my appendix that my uterus is tilted backwards. I thought that's why my periods hurt so much. But the cramps went away when I started birth control. It might not make much difference. But at least we're not planning on having kids, so I don't need to worry. Undefined. Every time I walk from a warm space to a cold space I gag. Not enough to bring anything up. But enough to stop my walking or talking and attract attention. For instance, if I'm in a nice warm living room and go to take my dog out at night where it's cold, gag time. Out of the car in the morning to walk into work? Gag time. I've asked my doctor and she has no idea what it could even be, so I've just dealt with it. Honestly. This is one of the best in this thread. How absolutely odd and also so noticeable to others. I'm cackling and imaging myself in this situation. But I'm sorry you have these reactions. This beep would piss me off if I lived it. Sometimes my vision will go black. I'll start to feel a little weird. It will fade out. But I can move around and hear perfectly fine. That's not good. Tell a doc. I've rolled my ankles so many times that they no longer really swell when it happens anymore. They just roll. I flop over. Then I limp for a day and it's business as usual. Ah yes. I too have ankles composed entirely of scar tissue. Moral of the story from this thread. You actually do have to go to a doctor about it.